Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, and back with another video today, and this is going to be the start of a mini series of videos, at least for the start of this new format here, where I sort of give you guys what I call a preview of some builds that I've been working on. Now, I've actually been saying across all my social medias that I've been working on like 4 or 5 different builds, so I'm going to showcase quite a bit of them for you guys over the course of the next week. If you guys missed out on the last video, I did briefly mention that I am going out of town actually today by the time this video goes up. So yeah, definitely the video schedule is going to be a little bit awkward. I do have some already pre-uploaded and ready for you guys, so don't worry too much. You won't be missing videos for an entire week, but don't expect too much live commentary or like things that are super recent or up to date or anything. I might get a video up here and there, but don't expect too much frequency while I'm gone. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into the first of the videos in this series, and that is basically the blind second Lunalight list. I'm gonna be honest guys, I'm not really a big fan of this. Don't get me wrong, blinding second is totally fine. Like you can break boards depending on the deck, but I feel like the way that the deck is inherently designed, you just need a lot of combo pieces, and the more and more you just take out of the deck, the less you are able to like actually, you know, play the way you're supposed to, especially because now with Mermaid being gone, you don't have a simplistic win condition such as, you know, clear their board, summon 2 monsters, and then Orcus combo. So you kind of now have to actually rely on a lot of like the Lunalight engine to actually be intact for you and to be able to play through a board. So I was testing all sorts of things. I was testing a main decked Phantasme, I was testing main decking the Nibiru's here, I was testing main decking Shaddoll Fusion, which you'll see in some of the replays that a lot of these were tested at different intervals, and like other hand traps like Ash. The problem is that there is no single enough versatile card, or like even I would even argue a subset of cards that allows you to adequately cover for the entire format. So what I mean by this is that, like, say you play Phantasme, right, and it might be good against like, your salad matchups, your Orcus matchups. Depending, it could be okay against Thunder, right, and like just generally combo decks. But in the instant that you play against a Guru player or a Draco player, it instantly becomes a lot less good to play in the main deck. Cards even like, you know, Impermanence and Twin Twisters aren't always live in every single matchup. Like you might play a strictly combo deck where like you might play against maybe Pendulum going second, and like Twin Twister will do pretty much nothing to actually break their board. Like you might run Impermanence in the main deck and then just again play against a very control deck like Draco or something, and it just won't be useful there. Like same deal with like Pankratops. Like I've also tried things like Mind Control. There's like a bunch of cards that are okay against certain matchups, but like I just feel that there isn't any like sufficient safe way to main deck a card that like breaks the board, or like even again like I'm devoting 8 slots here to board breakers, but it just doesn't seem impactful enough. And you'll see what I'm talking about when I get into some of the replays. But yeah, I'll just go quickly and run down through the list here. So we have 3 Chick, 3 Tiger, 2 Martin, and 1 Bird. I think that's the standard for every Lunalight build. I think every Lunalight build should start with this base and then work from there. I think Emerald Bird is too standard now, simply because the way that the deck operates is that like even if you're going second and you're summoning Azathoth to break your, or not break your opponent's board, but stop your opponent from like interrupting you with, you know, random hand traps or Phantasmes or just things of that nature, you definitely want to be able to utilize your Neurala to the fullest extent that you can. And Emerald Bird is just too good to pass up on. It's another extender. It's good going first and second. It's pretty much everything that you need as far as a extra like setup tool in tandem with the Neurala. So I think it's pretty standard. And then here we have the Black Sheep and the Wolf package that I added back. I didn't put in Tiger King here, like I just actually didn't find enough space. I wanted to at least have some semblance of a going first option if it came down to it, but ultimately I just think that the Lunalight fusions are really good and I want to reincorporate them into the strategy, but I just don't think a blind second list is all that optimal, to be honest. I don't think that the deck can really just push through a lot of the boards. There's so much resiliency. Like you have Bailings to stop things, you have like especially when you're not playing hand traps. But like even if you are playing hand traps, again, you're not guaranteed to stop anything. Like you might play against again, just maybe like a deck that sets 4 and summons 1 monster, right? Like maybe your opponent just opened like 3 traps and like multi-figure or something, and in that case, you know, a lot of hand traps just doesn't really do anything. But at the same time, like if you just don't have hand traps, your opponent could have like, you know, a bunch of negations with pendulum, or you know, sometimes like thunderboards can be hard to crack too, especially because I'm not running Tiger King. So you could argue that that's the spot that should be in here, but you know, it's hard with like Dingirsu still floating around, and like Bailing's protections, like counter traps with Roar and Crescendo still being in there, and like a lot of floodgates too. Like Striker's gonna be playing a lot more floodgates. Like there can be only one is a pretty big problem for more pure variants. Like I know this is playing dangers and stuff, but like even still, like you could have like a Phoenix, you could have a Tornado Dragon, and they might still have a floodgate if they're playing like a lot of back row, and then you're just suddenly out of options. Like when you try and go for like, you know, a Martin setup when you already have a Lunalight name, or like you just went for your Martin and you're trying to like get another chick to make a Tornado Dragon to begin with, and then you just can't do that. So it's really, really difficult for you to sometimes push through like big heavy floodgates, and I just am not a big fan of going second right now. I don't think this is the deck that's equipped to do so. It's not a simplistic enough win condition. Like yes, a lot of the plays that you do have revolve around like 2-card plays, but because of the loss of Mermaid, you just don't have as simple of a win condition anymore. And I feel that you're trying to do a lot as far as like opening the right cards and the right combination of cards and the right matchups. Like it makes game ones a real nightmare, and like you can side for it too, but then there's the worry of like you having to go first, and you have to have a good game plan for that. Like you can see there's some mitigation to the side here, but like I do think, you know, the fusions are a good way to close out the game after you break a board, but like the problem is breaking a board to begin with, and sometimes, you know, it just doesn't work out the way that you really want it to, which I find unfortunate. So again, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big fan of this build, but you guys can definitely try and give feedback and suggestions if you want on how you think the deck can be improved. I personally am, maybe it's just me being too fixated on going first for the past, I want to say 10 months, but yeah, I just feel like this deck is just a lot better going first in general. I've been saying that even since people have been playing the deck blind second. I just think that the tools that the deck has to offer are much more suitable going second, and that's generally how I feel about that. So we have the 6 standard dangers, and I think 2 Moth is about where I want to stay with. I don't think this ratio really changes. They're there to help try and dig for like more board breakers, but again, like you're not guaranteed against to like actually draw the right cards at the right times. And sometimes I just feel that even if you are playing a blind first list and you lose the die roll and you're going second, it's almost easier to just have a hand that's entirely gas, like just 5 combo pieces, instead of, you know, mixing it for like Pankratops and like Mind Control, like Super Poly, or like any of these cards. Like it's almost better to just have rather six combo pieces that just try and chew through your entire opponent's board as much as it can. And I feel like, you know, that's kind of almost the way to go, like even if you are trying to blind second. So maybe this list can be modified to just be purely combo pieces, but at that point you could play a go first variant and just slot in a couple of cards and do just as well. So that's what's tending me towards that go first variant, and I'm actually a lot happy with that build, which I won't showcase right now because I'm still kind of working on it, but generally speaking, I am very much in favor of that build more. So we have the Armageddon Knight and Zephyros, and then 2 Pankratops, 3 Tenki, Foolish Burial, 3 Goods, 3 Perfume, Twin and Impermanence is my other like go second cards of choice. Again, not super thrilled with this, but you do what you gotta do. And then Serenade Dance. The side is kind of, you know, depending on how this format goes, but right now it's tentatively Lancia, Nibiru, Sanctum package, Reboot, and then this the like Curious Griffin line going first. It's not how my side deck would look like if I was playing the blind first deck. Definitely not, but it is definitely, you definitely need something that actually allows you to go first if you are in fact blinding second, because your go for first boards are generally not that strong. Extra is the fusion package of Panther and Leo, Dweller, Nightmare, the Outer Entities, Force Strix, Tornado, Appaloosa, which I think got a lot better and worse in some ways. It's really not that great without Dingirsu, but it is good because like now that I feel that the Orcus package is pretty hit or miss in my opinion. Like if you can barely get to Curious, the Orcus package is not even worth it, whereas if you're playing like a different build, like barely getting Curious can actually just be full combo. But you know, I just feel that Appaloosa is good in those kinds of boards where you, even if you're not running Orcus, it's like still a solid card to end on. You just need other cards to supplement it. Boral, Sword, Curious, Phoenix, Cerberus, Dermidal, and Barricade Blocker. I want to touch on this card for a little bit. I do think this card is actually a staple in this deck now. So if you guys don't know, actually, what it does is that on Link Summon, you pitch a card as cost, and then you add a continuously field spell from your grave to hand during the end phase of this turn. So basically the way this card works is that because it checks on the end phase as far as whether or not you have a legal target, you actually don't need to have a continuously field spell in your graveyard to actually activate this card's effect, because the effect checks on resolution, it doesn't check at activation. So it basically says you pitch a card to activate this effect, and then during the end phase, if you do have a continuous field spell in the grave, that at that point, then you can add it to your hand. But again, at the point where you link summon this card, you actually do not need to have a valid target in your grave, and I think that's very important. So what this means is that it's like a very bootleg bad version of Nightmare Mermaid, in that it gets cards out of your hand, but it doesn't actually trade you anything. It doesn't give a body on the board. The only thing it's really nice for is its arrows, which can be useful for enabling Griffin setups, or it's typing an attribute where it's a dark machine and can help make Curious. Always sucks when you have to like invest 2 materials into a machine and then 2 more for Curious, so basically it turns Curious into kind of a Link 4 at that point. But sometimes it just is necessary to get you the combo there. This is the card that allows you to do Chick Tiger into the Curious setup, which, you know, isn't even enough for the full Orcus board. You actually still need 1 more monster to do the full Orcus setup, which is really upsetting, and that's why I'm just not a big fan of, like, you know, the Orcus package. You just have to draw like really well every single time, whereas in the other Go First build I have, you can just be a lot more stable and steady with it. But that's kind of my overall gist on how I feel with this deck, and I'm gonna go ahead and speed commentate over some fast forwarded replays. Alright guys, so I have now here a distribution of 2 rogue matches and 2 meta matches with a pretty good coverage of wins and losses across the board, just to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about as far as the problems with the deck as well as some of the strengths. It's not all bad. Even though I heavily dislike this build, there are still some strengths. This is one is against zombies. There's a little bit of confusion. You guys can read the chat if you want, but the basic point is, like, if you open a hand that's primarily combo pieces, you'll notice that there's actually an interesting combo piece. This is like kind of a mixture of basically a combo and a go second build, but essentially like this board can be cracked pretty easily. It's like a super poly with a Ballardrock, and it's a good board, but it's just, you notice that I didn't really have board breakers here. Like it was an Ash, which true, that did kind of help a little bit, but primarily speaking, what I'm talking about is like the strengths of just breaking the board with combo pieces and then going in. Like that's probably the best way to just do it. I had the OTK there. And then this one's against another rogue matchup. This one's against Shadal Books. I was forced to go first after like winning a game that didn't really count because all they opened was Call by the Grave, and that was it. But like this is another problem, is that like when you are forced to go first, you add on like a really mediocre board, and then like you just get blown out sometimes. Like of course I don't know why I didn't set this impermanence there, but it wouldn't have really mattered in the grand scheme of things, right? Like it just honestly wouldn't have mattered all that much. Yeah, maybe they would have gotten a construct search or like a blueberry search, but like does that matter when your board is just so easily broken? Not really. Like there's not a whole lot you can do in scenarios like this, and that's really just what hesitates me to really pick up this version of the deck. I just don't feel it's that great. Like your board gets dismantled and you have very little ways of recovering. Now this was like almost a really cool recovery. I could like pitch a twin with like a Serenade, but like you see like they just go into Winda and suddenly you have a floodgate. Like I was mentioning, like you just lose to floodgates randomly. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it sometimes. Like I was dead no matter what. Like I could have been permanent, I could have used Serenade Dance, I was dead no matter what because of like Priestess there. and like Fate 2. So yeah, there's no way that you can get out of those games sometimes. Now here's the 2 meta matches against Salamangreat here. First off, this is just another bad one where it's like not even that powerful of a board, but like you just randomly lose sometimes. And I'm not saying that like a hand that's purely, you know, combo pieces can play through it. And granted, this is mostly combo pieces because Shuttle Fusion is technically a combo piece, but like Dweller is just so powerful. And maybe you could argue that I kind of threw my resources at the wall here in this game. I admittedly did not play the greatest in this game, but I'm still trying to showcase the deck's problems where like you have hand traps and like Dweller really hurts, and there's just so much that like your other decks can do to capitalize on that, I just feel it's too risky to just choose to go second in a lot of these games. We end up playing some more games, but that was the one I really wanted to highlight as far as like you just kind of just lose some games randomly. And then this one's against Orcus, which we do manage to win this one. And we did have like enough board breakers. This is what I'm talking about, like the idea behind the deck. The whole premise is to open like a couple board breaker cards, and you see we have enough for Chick Tigers. So like the idea is to try and have enough stops for their turn, and then try and set up our own board and go for the OTK in that regard. So like this is like when the deck works at its best, essentially, is when you are able to just, you know, stop your opponent from fully comboing off, and then break the board that is weakened, and then go for your own board. So that's pretty much the entire idea and like the justification behind the deck. I'm still not a fan of it. Like, I just think that you should go all in one direction or the other, and I think honestly even if you go all in on blind second cards, you just lose so much consistency at that point where it's not even worth it to me, like in the end at that stage. So yeah, so we're back in Deck Edit, and I think those games actually did a really good job of showcasing both the strong sides and the weak sides of this deck, but I do think the cons outweigh the pros here. Just there's too much diversity in the field. Even though the format isn't fully wide open, it is a powered down version of last format with like some decks shifting up and down in power, but there's no really introduction of new decks. So basically, like, we already know how a tournament spread could look like. You could play Salad, you could play Orcus, you could play Thunder, you could play Pendulum, you could play Guru, you could play Draco, you could play Altergeist, you could play Striker, you could play all these other decks. And there's a wide variety of decks you can play, and there's, long story short, just no combination of cards that can suitably be, I guess, live in every single matchup. It's just not possible for that to happen, and that's okay. I think the solution is to kind of just either, if you want to go second, play all engine cards and just go ham, or go first and go ham. Like, I think honestly, just playing a lot of these non-engine cards, it's okay to play like maybe 3 like Call by the Grave or 3 Twin, or maybe, you know, Impermanence, or you could play some of these cards on the side. But I think the general advice I would have this format is to just jam in as many extenders as you can. Just try and throw everything you can and see what sticks at the wall. And that would be my general approach to the deck, whether it is going first or going second. So as sort of a addendum and asterisk next to this deck list, definitely feel free to make choices based on that advice. That is the advice I would have for you guys. And if you have any other thoughts, be sure to tell me in the comments below. But that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry maybe I sounded a little bit negative in this one, but I really just want to be brutally honest and say that this is probably one of my least favorite builds, as far as like the more competitively viable ones. I have some more fun builds that really can pop off pretty well if they go first, but just die going second. So I can't wait to show you guys some of those. I have some really wacky combos. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, as well as any thoughts or feedback down in the comment section below. Feel free to hit the subscribe button for more informative and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links are going to be in the description as always. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys!